Those that would like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do. Our Father, who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the April 5th, 2016 meeting of the Wicomico County Council. First item on the agenda would be the approval of the legislative minutes from March 15th, 2016. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to approve the open work session minutes on March 15th on collective bargaining.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. Entertain a motion to approve the work session minutes from March 15th, 2016 from the comprehensive plan.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any corrections, comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. And entertain a motion to approve the closed work session minutes from March 15th, which was involving personnel matters.
So moved. Second.
Second. All right. Any corrections? Seeing none. Entertain a motion to approve. Oh, I already have that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Minutes are approved. That's not even 5 minutes in. Mr. Kramer.
Good evening,
Good
Mr.
evening.
President, members of the County Council, ladies and gentlemen. The first item on the agenda before the resolutions is a proclamation for National Library Week, and Mr. Mark Kilmer will present that on behalf of the County Council.
Andrea,
Go
if you
ahead.
want to come up, or you want to bring anyone else with you, or okay, all right. Oh, okay, all right. Well, as the county member of the library board, it's my honor to present a proclamation for National Library Week, and I think we should probably also mention, which I'm sure you probably will when you talk, the Light of Literacy breakfast is coming up Thursday, 8 a.m. at the Civic Center. Are there still tickets available?
If you see me, I might be able to squeeze them
All
in.
right,
Yeah,
all right.
yes, yes.
It's a great event honoring people in the community for their commitment to literacy and in a variety of different aspects. So the proclamation says, whereas Wicomico Public Libraries are not just about what we have for people, but what we do for and with people. Whereas Wicomico Public Libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions, and library staff and librarians fuel efforts to better their communities, campuses, and schools. Whereas Wicomico Public Libraries are evolving in order to serve this community and to continue to fulfill their role in leveling the playing field for all who seek information and access to technologies. Whereas Wicomico Public Libraries and its staff open up a world of possibilities through innovative STEM programming, maker spaces, job-seeking resources, early literacy programming, educational support activities, and the power of reading. Whereas Wicomico Public Libraries and its staff understand that libraries transform a community, and so libraries are looking beyond their traditional roles and providing more opportunities for community engagement and deliver new services that connect closely with community needs. Whereas Wicomico Public Libraries support democracy and affect social change through their commitment to providing equitable access to information for all library users, regardless of who they are or where they live. Whereas Wicomico Public Libraries, librarians, library staff, and supporters across America are celebrating National Library Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wicomico County Council proclaims National Library Week April 10th through the 16th, 2016, and encourages all residents to visit one of the Wicomico Public Libraries this week and explore what is new at your library and engage with your librarian. You belong at the Wicomico Public Libraries. So, happy Library Week.
Thank you very much. Thank you. As always, I want to take a few minutes just to thank the council for their continued support of the library. We've done an awful lot of transformation over the last 4 years and are headed in a real positive direction, both in community engagement as well as economic development with our Job Search Center, our Homework Help Center, and our newest initiative, which is to relaunch the adult literacy program that we had to mothball several years ago in order to help adults in our community acquire the necessary literacy skills to become employed, gainfully employed, and contributing citizens to the community. So I want to thank the council for this proclamation and for their continued support of the library. We do encourage you to come Thursday morning. Let me know if you haven't already gotten tickets. We also encourage you to stop by the library, make sure your card is up to date, and visit an awful lot of the online as well as in-person resources that we provide every day to the citizens of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Did you send it to Rachel? Can you send it to Rachel Yaroslav? You already doesn't seem to be working at my mom.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first order of business for the council is resolution number 45, 2016, at the request of the county executive, evidencing the intent of the county council to appropriate funds and implement the collective bargaining agreement between Wicomico County, Maryland, the Office of the Sheriff of Wicomico County, and the Wicomico County Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 111. Ms. Michelle Ennis is here, I think, to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Entertain a motion from council to accept Resolution 45, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 45, 2016, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Next item for your consideration is Resolution 46, 2016, at the request of the county executive, adopting Amendment 2016-1 to the retirement plan for employees of Wicomico County and the Board of Education of Wicomico County.
Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 46-2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Well, I do want to express that I have had a few reservations about this retirement program, but Marty Fisher has he earned his money as a negotiator. I think he's you know, the FOP should I don't know if I don't think you get paid, but maybe they should give you an extra pat on the back. He's addressed some of these concerns, and I appreciate what he said about being willing to you know, work with the council about this issue. I would hope that within 4 years' time or so that the Director of Finance could maybe run the numbers on this so we could have a good idea about how many people are in the program, what the cost is, how much the payout is, things like that, so we could have, you know, see if Marty's right or if my concerns are right, and I'll be happy to be wrong on that. But although I have some reservations, I'm not going to oppose this. So I was leaning against, but like I said, Marty, you did a pretty good job in your negotiating. So I think as long as we have that information for the next round of negotiations, that's probably the best way to handle this.
Thank you, Councilman Kilmer. Any other council comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 46, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Next item is Resolution Number 47, 2016, at the request of the county executive, adopting Amendment 2016-2 to the retirement plan for employees of Wicomico County and the Board of Education.
Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 47, 2016.
So moved.
Second. Go second.
Second.
Discussion? Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 47, 2016, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes.
Next for your consideration is Resolution Number 48, 2016, at the request of the County Executive, transferring a supplemental appropriation from contingency to the Wicomico County Health Department in the amount of $30,000 to provide funding for a community outreach addiction program.
Entertain a motion to accept Resolution 48, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Discussion, and I know we have guests,
Ms.
dignitaries.
Brewster is here, and I believe Mr. Massarello is here.
Certainly, yeah. Good evening. How's everyone?
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Council,
Haven't seen you in a while.
citizens, and citizens.
Please, everyone, talk it directly into the microphones.
Yes, if you could just begin by letting the public know who you are, your title, et cetera. Thank you. We can start with you, Laura.
Lori Brewster, I'm the health officer.
For the record, I'm Matt Massarello, State's Attorney for Wicomico County.
Wayne Strasburg, the county's Director of Administration.
A very interesting proposal, correct? However you'd like to start.
Sure. I was looking through our updates. Submit heroin and opioid updates to the stakeholders and electeds in the county. In January 1, 2015, I thought it was interesting. There were about 41 overdoses on the entire Eastern Shore related to heroin and opioids. Just last month, there were 46 overdoses just in our county alone. We're in the midst, just like other communities around the country, of a heroin and opioid crisis. A lot of the times we have law enforcement are called out along with EMTs to respond to individuals who have overdosed either on opioids, so prescription opioids, or heroin. When they respond, the task force goes out. They may meet with the person who is overdosed because now they're using Narcan, so they're bringing these folks back to life sometimes at their homes, or they're brought to the hospital. They're quickly brought back with Narcan. And there isn't an opportunity for further follow-up by the health department because right now opioid-addicted individuals are basically given a referral to respond to the health department within business hours or business days, and it's just not happening. They're just not following up with the health department. What this team will do, and I'll let Lori speak to what her office does, but what this team will do is they will be able to respond on nights and weekends to follow up and see if they can do some outreach to get these individuals help so they don't fall into the justice system and they don't become a statistic and burdening our hospital and our EMT resources, our law enforcement resources, and we can get them some help. Additionally, WinTIF, our WinTIF officer, the head of WinTIF, which is our narcotics task force, he's identified certain areas in the county which are basically shooting galleries where people are shooting up heroin, where people go to seek out heroin in our community, and this community action team can actually go out and meet with the users and try to steer them into treatment. We all agree, and I think it's axiomatic and proven across the country, that treatment is a lot cheaper than investigation, prosecution, and all the other burdens on the healthcare system if we just lay back and let them come to us through that system. I think it's time to at least start a proactive program with the health department, treating this as a health care issue, to go out and see if they can make the connectivity. The health department has seen tremendous success with peer counselors. So those individuals who have been through addictions at their health department and reaching out and helping people through the process. So they can help them get to their physical. They can help them get evaluated for the methadone program or Vivitrol if that comes online. So there's a lot of follow-up that the health department can do that should lessen the burden on the first responders and therefore all these folks in the gallery here, the taxpayers that are paying for all of this.
Well, and I guess one of the things that I need you all to know is in calendar year 2015, there were 100 overdoses that graced the doors of PRMC. 3 months into this calendar year, we have already exceeded that.
What type of overdoses?
Any-
What drug primarily?
Typically heroin or other opiates. Not all of those are deaths. Keep that in mind, because we have done a lot of work in getting the naloxone or Narcan out into the community, and we're seeing a lot of lives saved from that, but that's not addressing the underlying issue. And that is our hope with this program. We want to put peer counselors out on the street with law enforcement on some occasions, as well as making their own visits on other occasions. It's the closest thing at this point to treatment on demand that we can get. And treatment on demand is one of the items listed in the Lieutenant Governor's Task Force on Heroin and Opioid Prevention. So we are working with the Salisbury Substance Abuse Community Center to get information on individuals that may have interest and actually have some time in recovery that would be good for this project. They will go out in the community, as Matt said, on nights, weekends, respond to cluster overdoses, because we know that when one occurs, many will occur, and those individuals that use in groups, a lot of times that's the time that they identify that they need resources to help them refrain from using anymore. So that is what our program goal is. This is a pilot project for not only Wicomico County, something that's not been done, I don't believe, in the state of Maryland at this point. So it will put Wicomico County on the map for a good reason as opposed to a bad reason.
Right.
Additionally, the city is looking to partner with Wicomico County. Mayor Jake Day and the city council, I believe that they are going to contribute $30,000 to the effort, which should cover almost all of the overtime, because there will be some law enforcement participation as well, not for investigation purposes, but simply to provide security to the counselors at the health departments. Like Lori said, this is part of the governor's opioid and heroin task force recommendations. A lot of those recommendations came from Wicomico County, which was one of the first counties to have a county strategy or county plan. Wicomico County has been recognized several times for being sort of the vanguard of the whole state of Maryland on addressing this opioid crisis. And the state and GOCP is looking at a lot of what we're doing here just because we've been doing it a long time. We've been at this about 3 years really managing this crisis, that they're looking for us for the strategy for the rest of the state. So again, will be a feather in the cap of Wicomico County. And it's good for the health, and it just makes completely common sense for the citizens of Wicomico County.
Questions, Council?
I just
Larry.
want to point out that with my background, I've resuscitated my share of overdoses with Narcan. It is a magical drug. You mentioned 46 overdoses last month. I think they're just the ones that you knew about.
That's
Probably
correct.
a
Those are
lot
the
more.
ones that are reported. And those are the individuals that go to either PRMC or EMTs are called, or they're reported to local law enforcement. That's all we know. That's probably the tip of the iceberg, because as you know, a lot of people are being prescribed Narcan. They have it in their homes and they're using it. And we've seen some people, as you probably know, being in the service, that some people are receiving Narcan 2 and 3 times a week. So we need to have health department reach out to those individuals. They are very, very sick, and we need to get them, and I mean sick in a medically, clinically, we need to help them if they are willing to receive help.
Right, I do understand that, and resuscitating somebody with the Narcan is just the first step. You got to do something to prevent them from taking the next dose, and it's bad. I monitor what's going on. I still listen to what's going on in the county, and when you hear one overdose, one fire department dispatch for an overdose, you hear many more. It seems like they all get a bad batch, and they don't know how to control the dose that they're taking. So it's out there, it's bad. This is the first step, and I really think that we're doing the right thing. As people are reaching out to us, asking us for help. So I think this is a good move.
I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that Sheriff Lewis believes around 80% of a lot of our crime here in Wicomico County, it's the opioid addicted, heroin addicted individuals that are doing the smashing car windows, breaking into cars, burglaries, things like that. I mean, the whole approach here is to try to lessen that impact on our citizens, because they're fed up with that as well.
And to get the individuals the treatment that they need.
Right.
Any other comments? John?
Congratulations on a pilot program. I think it's wonderful that you take the initiative to do that. But I have a question. On the peer support counselors, will they answer to the health department, they're contract employees, but what kind of responsibility will they have?
We are going to hire them through the health department, so they will be responsible to the health department, and they will have their supervision and oversight of the program by the health department.
And what will they do?
They will go out into the community with law enforcement to the areas that Matt was describing, the areas that law enforcement knows that they're shooting up, to provide outreach and education. And they will be a bridge from the time that they're ready to access treatment until they can actually get into treatment. There are no programs open overnight.
Will they follow up on it, so they'll be in touch?
That is our goal, is for them to follow these people, if it be 3 days because it's a weekend, or 4 days, however long it would take to get them into treatment.
Thank you.
Mrs. Brewster, how many people do you have enrolled in your methadone clinic?
Estimate today is
Estimate.
about 300.
About 300?
Yes.
And they would all be county residents? You know, do they-
We have some that are not county residents. We are the regional program, methadone
Okay.
program for the lower shore of Maryland and the upper eastern shore of Virginia. We have a mobile unit that actually goes into West Ocean City that's paid by the state. So we're not having to take any resources from the county to pay for that unit to go and dispense to those individuals. As you may recall, we get what we call guest dosers in the summer. These are individuals that can't necessarily be given take-home doses of methadone, so they have to receive their methadone on a daily basis, and they're visiting Ocean City. So we're providing treatment for those individuals in West Ocean City.
Thank you.
I have
Councilor
one more
Dunn.
question, if you may.
Yes.
When we were running for office this last time, I put a sign out during the wine festival on Nanticoke Road. When I came back, I found a syringe right beside the sign. So I said, what the heck do I do? It was loaded. And I didn't want to leave it there. I was afraid a kid would pick it up. So I called the city police, and they came and got it. But and just the other day, somebody posted an email to me. They found one in the city. And I've seen them in Walmart parking lot run over, and they're all over. I hear about it all the time. What is the proper procedure? It's a quality of life. It's a safety issue. What is the proper procedure if a citizen finds a syringe? Because I think people are just throwing them out on the ground when they're done with them.
Good question.
Most of the time, the individuals can call law enforcement, but if law enforcement is tied up on other issues, EMS sometimes can go out and get that for them. I don't want our citizenry to go out and pick up used syringes.
Right.
So,
And I don't want them to leave them there either.
no.
Okay, thank you.
Matt?
2 questions. What's the time to launch for this once the funding is approved? And I see that you have about $135,000 estimate for 2017, but that's just a guess because it's a new program. Do you expect a few months in you'll be able to kind of track what our spending is per month so that we can get a better budget estimate, so if we do need to fund it further, we can do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We will have a clearer picture on the hours that are needed. We're capturing data from PRMC as well as from law enforcement and EMS on the times of day that are of greatest concern and the days of the week. which has actually moved since we talked about the program to begin with.
It's not Friday, Saturday?
It's not Thursday, Friday, Saturday anymore. It's Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is when they seem to be using the most. And I don't know what Tuesday is all about. But and I think that may be some give and take.
Is that seasonal?
I really don't know how to answer that at this point. I don't know if you know.
I would say that the team would just have to be prepared to be fluid. The cooperation and communication between law enforcement and the health department has never been better, so through that, we'll be able to adjust.
Okay.
Because we have to go, we're to have to, that's the whole point of creating this team, is because they're not doing this stuff during business hours. And so therefore, we need Lori's group to go out whenever they're needed. I think that is the best way to proactively go to them before they become a statistic and become a burden on the system.
You think rollout time is?
Well, we need some time to actually interview the people that are interested in providing this service. So I would hope by the 1st or middle of May, we would have the team up and running.
Great.
I know that is probably fast tracking it, but that's my nature.
Okay.
The $30,000, what's the time, what's the expectancy as far as the lifeline for that? How long do you anticipate that will be sufficient funding before you'd have to have more? Is that through the end of June? Wayne?
At the end of the fiscal year, John.
This will take us to June 30th.
This is to get it launched in this fiscal year.
And you have it under contractual services, so we're paying county employees through contractual services?
Well,
I know, you're trying to make it work.
yeah, that was a moving target. When we first talked about this, we had thought that we would contract these people, but that has changed. That's morphed over time. I can let Lori explain that. But we can handle that within her budget
Right, okay.
as a
And we're-
transfer within lines if we have to.
I understand. Joe?
These health officials are going to be traveling with law enforcement. If they are on the scene and law enforcement witnesses a crime being committed at the time, these folks are going to be in the middle of this. Are they going to be trained to get out of the area? How are they going to handle that situation?
We're going to work side by side with the Sheriff's Department, so I'm certain that they will provide them some training on what to do if that were to occur.
So they're not going to go in with the thoughts that, we're here to help, we're not here to arrest. I mean, if crimes are committed, they will be taking action, correct? Law enforcement will be.
You're asking me?
Yeah. Well, I was asking whoever wanted to answer the question.
Again, it's always discretionary, it's always discretionary for law enforcement to take any action. The thought here is for the sheriff's office to be in a support role without providing a chilling effect on the program. Because the point here is to get individuals, of course, if they are there and there's a misdemeanor such as domestic abuse or some sort of felony that's committed in their presence, or misdemeanor, I mean, they're sworn to take action in those that situation. But I think that Sheriff Lewis, again, his officers already work in crisis intervention with the mentally infirm and responding to those types of calls. So it would be much like that role, with an understanding of, in this case, what your, this is a support role for the health department. The ultimate goal of which is to get people into treatment and not to scare them away, thinking that this is some ruse for law enforcement, which it is not.
Right. Thank you.
Would this fall under what's the law called, where if you call in, or you?
No, it would not fall under the Good Samaritan law.
Okay.
That's a completely different, spirit and intent that's behind that law and letter. However, it is sort of quasi-related in that, our real intent here is to not incarcerate under these circumstances. It's to proactively go out and try to get these people hooked up with the services that could make them get on the right path and become more productive members of our community. Again, because these are some people that are the opioid addiction is so powerful. I mean, they're just lost souls, and you cannot incarcerate them or punish them to become reasonable and say, I'm just gonna give this up. It's just, it happens sometimes, but it's rare. It's better to have the health folks do this their way, try to get them even in. They can do methadone. We have Vivitrol coming online at the detention center, which is a wonder drug for the addicted. And again, this is all for the betterment of, hopefully, betterment and management of this huge crisis.
And I'm assuming you'll be tracking this very diligently.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah, so we know by the end just exactly how successful it's been on maybe on a one-to-one individual basis.
Yes.
It'd be nice to know.
And we know we're not going to be able to save everyone, but if we can save one, that's one less that's out on the street committing crimes and creating a burden on the system.
All right. Well, I for one appreciate you taking the initiative, both of you taking this initiative. I know that Matt, you've just been recognized as the outstanding public health leader for 2016 because I was at the ceremony today. Congratulations. And Lori, congratulations also because the health department has been accredited by the state of Maryland.
No, the
Excuse
national
me,
organization.
national, I'm sorry,
Yes.
national. But it's only 1 out of 4.
5. There's a
I'll
total
let you
of
do it, 'cause-
5. Total of 5 health departments in Maryland that have been accredited.
Right.
And we are one of those 5.
Great.
So,
And I think at least 14 tried to get accreditation, but just couldn't get there.
in Maryland?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, well, I knew that was
no.
wrong. All right, either way.
He's drawing at straws.
But congratulations, if we haven't lost the message yet, congratulations for the accreditation, because it's very,
Thank you.
it's very good. Any other questions from council members? All those in favor of Resolution 48, 2016, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried, resolution passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We truly thank you for your time and your
Thank you.
The next item on your agenda for this evening, perhaps a word or two of background for the benefit of the audience. The council has scheduled a discussion at this time for Legislative Bill 2016-03, and the bill was introduced on March the 1st. Since there has been so much progress made with the work sessions with planning and zoning on developing legislation for poultry houses, the item which was of concern with regard to traffic has largely been addressed through the proposed zoning legislation. So that brings us to this point where council wanted to have some discussion as to the necessity of Legislative Bill 2016-3, and there are essentially 3 choices for you to consider. One, of course, would be to ascertain whether or not it is needed, or whether the bill should simply be retrieved or allow to expire. That would be the second choice, allowing it to expire. And of course, the third choice would be to continue and schedule public hearings.
Okay, I open the floor to the council on Legislative Bill 2016-03. Any discussion to be held on the bill, or will we move forward?
I think we need to determine whether it's needed or not, like Mr. Kramer said, and based on the proposed legislation that we have for the poultry industry, adding the 50 or 60 feet for the entrance roadway access to the poultry houses, I don't think that this legislative bill is appropriate at this time.
I agree with Mr. Hall. We've addressed that through the poultry discussions we've been having, and this was mainly what this was going to be about, so I'm never mind, just let it drop. Or withdraw it, whatever.
We would need a motion if we were to go in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, there was the issue of safety. There's also the issue of wear and tear on the roads. That was also part of it. And I don't know if this bill is perfect way to address that sort of thing. I mean, you know, I believe the concern was that if there was a large number of heavy trucks on a road, that there would be the need to make some repairs to the road or change the road in a way to handle that issue, and then it comes up to who pays for it. And I remember, you know, what you said in the last work session, Joe Holloway, about the gas tax. I mean, you're exactly right. That, you know, the trucks do pay the gas tax. Unfortunately, the state's not giving us that money. And you know, speaking with Senator Eckhart this weekend, it doesn't look like we're going to get much HUR money again this year. And so that puts us in a tough bind of, you know, the county has to find some way to repair whatever roads are needed. And I understand your point that you made before of, well, should we single out this one, you know, very specific place to pay for it? But the alternative is, does everyone pay for it? And again, I'm not sure if this is the perfect way to do it. This bill is kind of open-ended. There isn't a lot of control on the executive branch in it. It kind of gives the executive branch a lot of leeway to do things, which does make me uncomfortable. But, you know, there is that problem that we have, you know, how to pay for road repair if it's needed, and if we can point to a specific things that are causing wear and tear on the roads, it does make a certain amount of sense to have them bear more of the burden. So I'm not sure what we do with that.
Any other?
I seem to
Councilman
agree with
Davis?
Councilman Kilmer. I mean, I think a traffic study should be done. I mean, these aren't just 1 or 2 chicken houses. You're looking at 10, 13, 15 chicken houses on a country road. I think a study should be done to see what the traffic flow is going to be in that area. And like he said, the cost, if you can see, the state isn't going to give us any highway user fund, so the burden's going to be on the county and the taxpayers.
Councilman Dodd?
Are traffic studies already being done for some developments?
Traffic studies have been done when the Department of Public Works or Planning and Zoning thought they were needed. They've been done on numerous occasions for industrial and commercial facilities, shopping centers and industrial plants and things like that. It was brought out, though, that there's no specific statutory authority for that, or to require that. And so that was the initial purpose for the discussion about having this legislation. Subsequently, the departments of planning and public works and the executive's office have revisited the situation, I believe, with specific to the poultry, at least, that the zoning code modification will address those issues.
So if we're already doing traffic studies, there's no need to change anything, is it?
That's one way to look at it.
I believe the county executive first introduced this, and then when we got involved with the poultry legislation, he asked that it be withdrawn.
Yes.
So I would, I'd make a motion that we withdraw this bill at the time.
There's a motion on the floor to withdraw.
Second.
And there's a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Opposed. Chair would be in favor. Motion is carried. The bill's been withdrawn.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's all I have for now.
Mrs. Harris, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I have for introduction Legislative Bill 2016-05, an act pursuant to Chapter 59, Article 2, Section 59-10E of the Wicomico County Code, approving provisions in a collective bargaining agreement between Wicomico County, Maryland, the Office of the Sheriff of Wicomico County, and the Wicomico County Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 111, that are in conflict with the Wicomico County Personnel Manual, and amending the Wicomico County Personnel Manual, Section 0104, titled Scope, to reference the relationship between the collective bargaining agreement and the Personnel Manual. Ms. Michelle Ennis, Director of Human Resources, is here to discuss.
Entertain a motion to introduce Legislative Bill 2016-05.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion from council? Seeing none, all those in favor of the introduction of legislative bill 2016-05, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Legislative bill 2016-05 has been introduced.
Mr.
Mrs.
President, if it please the council, the first available date for a public hearing on legislative bill 2016-05 would be May the 3rd.
May the 3rd, I'm assuming that's a council day? Council meeting?
That is the
That's
next council meeting.
It's fine.
That's,
Yes or no?
did you ask if that's the next council
No,
meeting?
no, no. I asked if it was a council meeting.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Is that satisfactory?
The
with
next council meeting when this could be heard.
Is that satisfactory with, okay. All right, Mr. Kramer, thank you very much. If you could schedule that, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, now we have a public hearing. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on Tuesday, April 5th, 2016, commencing at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers of the Government Office Building, Salisbury, Maryland, in conformity with Section 311D of the Charter of Wicomico County, on the following bill, which was introduced for consideration at a legislative session of said county for the year 2016. The following bill may be called for final reading and consideration commencing immediately after the aforesaid public hearing. 2016-04, an act to amend Wicomico County Code, Chapter 186, titled Right to Farm, Article 2, titled Wicomico County Agricultural Reconciliation Committee, Section 186-5, titled Establishment, Membership, Terms of Office, Meetings, to remove the residency requirement for appointments to the Wicomico County Agricultural Reconciliation Committee. If the foregoing bill number 2016-04 is enacted, it will take effect 60 days from the date it becomes law, subject to the referendum provisions of the Charter of Wicomico County, Maryland.
Thank you, Mrs. Harris. At this time, we open the floor to the public for a public hearing on legislative bill 2016-04. If you have any comments, please go to the podium here and state your name and address. Good evening. You have any papers you wanted to distribute? If you don't, you can just go. All right, yeah, just go to the podium and state your name if you could and your address.
My name is Simpson Donahue. I'm a farmer, Hebron area. I question the reasoning behind this proposed change. If I'm out of order now, somebody needs to tell me. It's my understanding that the change was instituted in order to allow the extension agent to serve as a member of this committee, an extension agent that lives in Worcester County. I was involved in the 90s when this legislation was approved, and I served on the committee for the first term. I brought with me a copy of the legislation. It specifies that there should be 7 members on the committee. It spells out the area that they come from. Farm Bureau, the Coastal Board of Realtors, Homeowners Association, etc. That's item 1. Specifies that they should be a resident of Wicomico County. The next item is for a representative, and it does not say whether they're a voting representative or not, to serve 1-year terms, to come from a municipality within the county, be it Hebron, Salisbury, Fruitland, or where, and that seat rotate once a year. Item C says the Wicomico County Extension Agent shall serve as an ex officio member. Now my question is, if the purpose for this is to have the extension agent in Worcester County, and I might back up a minute, the Maryland Extension Service has pulled the extension agent from Wicomico County. They've divided the whole state up now into small groups. Lower Shore has an agent for Wicomico, Worcester, and Somerset. So Ms. Flores, who represents Wicomico County, actually has an office in Princess Anne, lives in Worcester County, I know her. I think she'd be an excellent part to this committee, and I have no objection to her serving. I do have objection to removing the residency requirement for those 7 voting members. I contend that the only thing you need to do, item 3 says, Wicomico County Extension Agent shall serve as an ex officio member. It would appear to me that all you need to do is strike Wicomico and say University of Maryland Extension Agent, and that would get around the Extension Service pulling agents from this county and using the group county approach. I'm very much opposed to removing the residency requirement for those 7 voting members. They were selected, spelled out for specific reasons. I have no problem with the county executive and who he may choose to appoint to this, but I don't know who may be the next county executive. And I would have a problem with a lot of non-residents coming in to figure out how we farm in Wicomico County.
Thank you, Mr. Donahoe. Any other public comments in reference to Legislative Bill 2016-04?
I'd like to comment also. My name is Bill Boston. I live at 506, wherever I live.
Just the street.
50603 Paddington Court in Salisbury, Maryland. And I'm a landowner in Salisbury. I'd like to reiterate my support of what Simpson said. I don't think the residency requirement should be changed for the main members of the committee. I too would hate to see other people from other counties or far be it other states be in on this council committee. So let's avoid doing that. If the person for the extension service needs to be from Worcester County with an office in Princess Anne who represents the extension service in the Lower Shore, then so be it. If that's necessary, that'd be fine. I would support that. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Boston.
Hi, my name's Chris Himmel. I live in Tyaskin, Maryland, and I have a farm there. It's a little bit different than the traditional farm. I actually chose to move here because of the last place that I lived, which was Beltsville, Maryland. It is where the United States Department of Agriculture is. My neighbors were cows when I first moved there, and because they had no plan and they let another surrounding area dictate how they were going to farm, it's now IKEA and strip malls and a road that nobody can get through on. So I'm a firm believer that the people who have the vote in the county should have a stake in the county. I think that the wording of this needs to be narrowed slightly so that its intentions are followed and not someone's desires. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is Bob Hocutt. I am president of the Wicomico Environmental Trust, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the Reconciliation Committee. My request may be, as the gentleman said earlier, out of order, and I will accept that, and I hope that you will bear with me. Our organization has looked at the composition of the committee and understand that it's made up mostly of agricultural folks, as indeed it should be. I think there are representatives of Farm Bureau, Ag Preservation, Poultry Institute, Chamber of Commerce, other agricultural committees, and realtors, and a representative from Homeowners Association. At least that's my understanding of the makeup of the committee. But what the committee doesn't seem to have is a trained mediator or someone that would be skillful in representing the concerns of homeowners who are not themselves farmers, but who may be affected by agricultural work that's going on in their in or near their community. We know that agricultural zones, farming zones, folks are understanding that it is an agricultural zone and things are going to happen around them that maybe they don't like. And what we have coming down the pike, of course, is things of a more industrialized nature that will have unknown effects on homeowners who may be in the agricultural zone. And we think that a reconciliation committee should have on its, as part of its makeup, one, a person who is skilled in mediation to help mediate complaints that may arise, as well as someone who is a homeowner in an area like that could represent other homeowners. I realize that may be beyond the scope of the intended change to the committee, but then again, it's open. Your legislature, you can look beyond the details and look at a broader picture, and we ask that you do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Cut.
If I might very quickly, the administration has no objection to Mr. Donahoe's and Mr. Bastian's suggestion that we narrow the scope of this bill to the extension agent only.
Thank you, Mr. Strasburg. Any other public comments? Seeing none, that closes the session for a public hearing on Legislative Bill 2016-04. Entertain a motion from council to adopt Legislative Bill 2016-04. Entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion, please.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to amend it. I had emailed around to council earlier today about an issue that apparently was on a lot of people's minds. We'd obviously heard from people in the community about this issue of residency, and when the executive brought this.
Are you speaking on your amendment?
Yeah.
Have you made an amendment?
Well,
He's getting there.
I'm getting there. I'm explaining. So, I want to explain to that when the executive brought it before us, the issue was about the county extension agent, and the extension agent is specified in the law that that person is a part of the committee, but there's also the residency requirement, so there's a conflict. So it does make sense. We do need to make some change, but it does make sense to make it narrowly. So I would make a motion that the only change we make is to section B3, and where it says now the Wicomico County Extension Agent shall serve as an ex officio member, we insert the words, so it now says the Wicomico County Extension Agent, regardless of where he or she may reside, shall serve as an ex officio member. And those are the only changes we make to this legislation. That would be my amendment, and I have paper copies that I provided to the council administrator and the county. So
There's an amendment on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second that, but.
Discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to amend the amendment. I think if we just put in the county extension agent rather than put any other wording or verbiage in the issue would eliminate all the confusion. And you wouldn't have to designate whether it was a Wicomico County agent or not, since a county extension agent represents 3 different counties.
I don't think we need to put in there regardless of where they live. I think that's
Sure.
language that really isn't
So
needed.
we'll amend the amendment to say the county extension agent shall serve as ex officio member.
well, you don't need to amend the amendment. Just make an amendment that says take out Wicomico in line 3, and that gets it done. And I'll withdraw my
You'll withdraw
amendment.
your
Yeah, that's
amendment.
fine. So
Okay.
just take out Wicomico as
Okay.
was suggested, and
You withdraw, I'll withdraw.
It'll be your
No
amendment.
need
I'll
to
withdraw
no
my
need to
second.
withdraw. Just Mark.
I'll withdraw my second.
Just make your no need to withdraw.
So I make an amendment that in section B, line 3, take out Wicomico. I got the word Wicomico, and that's the only change we make to this.
And I'll second that.
Satisfactory? Any other discussion?
Yes. Let me just make sure we're clear on this, that one that we're looking at in our brief book has residents of the county crossed out.
Yes.
Do we need to make an amendment to
Put that back.
put that back or strike that striking?
Well, my amendment would be that the only change we make to the entire legislation is changing the word Wicomico, so that would take away all the
Okay.
other stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yes,
so-
that would need, you would need to undo what
We
you've
also need
already
to
put
undo
on
that?
here.
Okay.
All right.
Is that satisfactory, Mark, since this is your amendment?
Whatever makes it legal. I believe you know the intent and the language.
Yeah.
so-
Okay.
Okay.
So
Alright.
that'll be a part of that amendment as well?
Correct.
To
Do we vote on
unstrike-
the first?
To unstrike residents of the county?
And then,
Yes.
and then strike Wicomico in
Yes.
section 3.
Okay.
Clear?
That's the amendment.
Ms. Harris, you clear
That's
with that?
correct, yes. Unstrike the first strikeout
Mm-hmm.
that is in your brief book, and then strike Wicomico instead in subsection B3.
Okay.
Um, Make that
Okay,
motion.
so the motion, we have a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. The legislative bill has been amended. Any further discussion on the legislative bill as amended? Seeing none. All those in favor of legislative bill 2016-04 as amended? We'll start with Mr. Dodd.
As amended means that we're going to have 7 residents from Wicomico County. And so it's the way it was originally, except with the amendment. I vote aye.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Legislative bill 2016-04 has been adopted as amended. Thank you, Mr. Donahoe. Thank you, Ms. Harris.
You're welcome.
At this time, we now go into public comments. We open the floor for public comments. If you have any comments, please go to the podium, state your name and your address. Keep in mind there's a 3-minute limit so that we can give everyone a chance to address their concerns.
Hi, my name's Nicole Kopniski, and I live in Rockawakan Village, 27021 North Cormaline Drive, Hebron, Maryland. I was born and raised here in Wicomico County. I did move away. I attended college for 4 years, but I decided to come back because I felt that my quality of life here would be good. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm a student, and the home that I live in is bought and paid for in full. And that's been a blessing to me since my husband was born with a birth defect, and he's had 4 open heart surgeries. I'm planning on my home being my nest egg, and if I eventually ever have to put my husband into a long-term care facility, I'm going to need the proceeds from the sale of my home to do that. My concern is that what you're doing when you're allowing these CAFO operations to be located next to residential areas is that you're destroying the very thing that people like me bank on, our property value. You're contributing to the loss of our quality of life, and our area will no longer be known as the land of pleasant living. All around the country, politicians and scientists agree that conservation is the key to the survival of our planet. And the legacy that you all are leaving is not one of conservation and protection, but one of irrefutable harm and damage to those very resources. The youth of today will not want to be the residents of tomorrow here in Wicomico County if you don't put a lid on this. The environment is the very key to this area. It's why people from the Western Shore come here. It's why people from all over the country come here to visit. And when you locate these industrial side CAFOs here, you're taking away the very core of this attraction. You're negatively impacting the vast majority of county residents. My parents raised me to stand up and say something when I see that something isn't right. And this isn't right. And I urge you to stand up and do something and spend a little more time investigating what's happening here. I don't think that you are. I think it's very one-sided. I think we need to spend a little more time finding a compromise between both parties. And that's all I want to say.
Hi, this is Chris Hummel again, Tyasca, Maryland. And I'm just going to talk from my heart. I didn't write anything down. I moved here. I chose here. It's a beautiful place. I opened a retreat center because it's a beautiful place. I was hoping it would be strategically beautiful too. There is a lot of money to be made for the county in agritourism. There's a lot to be said for keeping the cleanest tributary to the Chesapeake, the cleanest tributary to the Chesapeake. The argument that these buildings are going to help the family farm don't fly with me. I looked at all 18 of the permits that are under there. I recognize 2 names from this local area. 2. That's not a family farm. I don't know who they're going to employ. I don't know where the children are going to go when they get out of college. Really, is it your dream? Is it your dream that your child grows up here, smells that, and their job opportunity is to work in one of those facilities? We have so many options. We have beautiful land. We have Pirates Cove, which could be a haven. It could be a draw. We could do so much to bring into this county people who are looking for spaces like this. You can't go back. That's my biggest warning. Beltsville could not go back. The Department of Agriculture for the United States can't even have their festival every year because they don't have space. It's all a parking lot. We cut down 200-year-old trees. We're not here to see them grow again into something that you're going to harvest. Our children will have no place to go, and honestly, nobody from the Western Shore wants to look at what's on Athol Road. They don't want to look at what's going up in Delaware. They don't want to come here. They're not going to spend their money, and it's starting already. We need to help the county grow in a way that all of us can benefit.
Thank you.
My name's Elizabeth Close, and yes, I have stood up here a few times, so hopefully my face is starting to get familiar. I too am a resident. I too am a transplant. Again, we chose to come here. I grew up in Western New York. I grew up on a small family farm with a mixture of type of animals that we raised. I am all about support of farms and industry and allowing things to grow. However, there has to be limitations. There has to be some type of drive to find a balance between these CAFOs, which are coming in and inundating the world. Please understand that as a professional, my husband was trucked in here. That's why we came here. Because here in Delmarva, you can't find people who are professionals and qualified. So as a result, they were willing to pay good money for him to come here. I am a physical therapist. I am very blessed at the opportunity that I have lots of jobs to choose from. It's also a curse because we can't get people to come to this area because it is on the Eastern Shore. You need to be thinking about growth beyond just the CAFOs. Where is that money actually going to go? Is it going to benefit our county, or is it going to be distributed to other states and local and areas that are just beyond us? Because this is Delmarva. So we have Virginia and we have Delaware. Delaware doesn't have any state tax. If I were a business, I'm pretty sure I'd know where I'd want to go. My understanding is that this is a beautiful area and there's a lot to pull from. However, as we've been talking to different individuals in our area, as I'm talking to fellow coworkers who are in different realms, they're all saying the same thing. We could go anytime. What is it that would keep us here anyways? So we need to find a balance, because the only way that you're going to get the income and the taxes and the benefits that you need is if your people stay. So either the chickens can come in by the millions, or you can limit to what's already there, find a balance between allowing them to grow in a way that is safe, that protects our environment, and protects your people. Your people are Wicomico County. We are a group of individuals who serve each other by being here tonight. We have voiced our opinions, we have voiced our concerns over and over again. And I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like we are not being heard clearly because there's something else that has more monetary drive than we are able to offer. Now, I understand understand that it is difficult. I understand that there are a lot of overseeing contributors to this community as well who happen to work and own chicken companies. And it's not that we don't appreciate what they contribute to our society. In fact, I know that one plant is open, it doesn't make any money. But you know what? They keep it open anyways because it's their way of giving back to the community. As much as we appreciate that, we have to still understand that this needs to be a lifelong process. If you let a few in now, it won't stop. Our time is now to set the precedents, to set what needs to be set for borders to find balance between residential and the farmers and what is going to be going on here. If you want people to stay and you want them to contribute to your county and pay for your taxes and stay in the state of Maryland, which I know Governor Hogan would like us to stay, I don't think it's all about bringing in just CAFOs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Rose McGregor. I live in the city of Salisbury, in one of the unfortunate neighborhoods that property values have declined significantly since we purchased our home. And I want to just draw attention to the center of the seal in the city of Salisbury, and that's a tree. And I came here for two reasons tonight: to speak on the future of Pirates Wharf down Nanacoke Road, and also to speak against the CAFO issue of bringing in more and more and more chickens in this area, which unfortunately I do relate to the property value decline, but also my concern in the paper that I gave to you all tonight is the health issues. When you look at Maryland, and the rates of cancer and on the Eastern Shore is higher than everywhere else in Maryland. There's also, it brings up 3 points, the one of cancer, the one of air pollution, and then which eventually would lead into water pollution. And having chicken farms anywhere near the water, the Paleo Channel, I believe that the area where that contributes to our drinking water should be forbidden to have any major runoff and contributors to that type of pollution. When I came here to move to Maryland in 2005, I came here because I got a job for the Maryland Park Service. So there are reasons to come here that aren't for chickens, and they aren't for all corporate. The reason I stay here, there's plenty of biking, there's kayaking, there's tons of natural areas to explore, and I would like to keep it that way. And I'm going to be here anyway because I can't sell my house until the property values come back up. So I hope that you would consider the CAFO issue of keeping it at least away from our water source and also our properties, our homes. And going back to Pirates Wharf, I would like to mention that in 1997, a Project Open Space protected that area. It's 230 acres. That amount of land is valued at $18,000 an acre. As far as in a cap and trade system, its value in that it's a mature wetland forest, it offsets some of the urban areas and industrial areas. Its value is $3.6 million if you just look at the cap and trade value of that, you know, what the benefit it provides to cleaning water through the wetland action and the trees cleaning the air. So I think that's a dollar value I hope you guys can relate to, because it seems like, you know, you really want to hear the dollar values. So that's something there. And also in 2002, that Pirates Wharf area was designated as a living memorial for September 11th by the U.S. Forest Service. So I just would like you guys to uphold the promises already made of not putting CAFOs on top of our water. And also not disturbing the mature forest that is at Pirates Wharf.
Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Any other public comments? By the way, just so that you know, it's not a cell phone going off over here. It's a 3-minute alarm so that everyone can be aware of the time limit. I know some people think we have a cell phone going off, but thank you.
My name is Krista Hughes. I live at 8599 Northwest Road. I have 2 comments tonight. The first one is in regard to the public hearing on March 22nd. I was one of the ones outside. I spoke with some people on the way in. They were really just looking for information. They just wanted to see what the panel had to say. Some of the comments on the way out, it was very one-sided. Their questions were not answered. They basically described it as a waste of their time and even a joke. It was interesting. I talked to some people that were ex-farmers that had come out, and after hearing the doctor on the panel say that there were no health risks with these industrial-size farm factories, they shared with us that they had many physical conditions as a result. The one gentleman, he had a farm in the industrial poultry industry for 11 years, got out, last year was shortness of breath, went to the doctor. He was diagnosed with lung cancer. He went to the surgeon. First question asked was, have you ever smoked? Answer is no. Second question, have you ever been in the poultry industry? Now, to me, that speaks volumes when you go to a specialist. So the second issue is in regards to the study that was done in 2013 from the MDE. It was paid for the city of Salisbury. The group has sent it before you guys 3-4 months ago. I don't know if you remembered it. It was called the Source Water Protection Program benefiting the Salisbury water system. One of the specialists, his name was Mark Eisner with Advanced Land and Water, Inc. We actually met with him last week, and we wanted to ask him specifically for the Northwest Road project. He was very surprised that this project is even being considered due to the proximity of it being in relation to the Paleo Channel. So I'm asking you guys to consider again this study, consider what you're doing, and ask you to please consider the welfare of the people of Salisbury and not money and personal political gains. Thanks.
My name is Gabby Camarada. I live off of Glastonbury Drive, right off of Northwest Road, and my face should also be pretty familiar to everybody as well. I wanted to nip something in the bud and just reiterate this because I keep hearing that the Northwest Road and the Naylor Mill factory project that is supposed to be proposed is a done deal. Well, I called MDE a couple of days ago, and they haven't even applied for their CAFO permit. Therefore, it is not online for people to view. It hasn't completely gone through the system. And for everybody to keep saying that it's a done deal, well, they can't get their birds until they apply for that CAFO permit. And most people are pretty aware of how long that process takes. And I just wanted to reiterate the fact that it's not a done deal. The county has the opportunity to make sure that protections are put in place so that the Paleo Channel does not have any kind of pollution to worry about, because we reviewed the building plans, and again, with what Chris has said, Mark Eisner was very surprised because our water table here is very, very susceptible to pollution. And when you dig a 40-foot pond, you are hitting water, and that is why they have to assign a water appropriations permit. So to basically keep saying that the Northwest Road and Naylor Mill CAFO is a done deal and we can't do anything about it is completely absurd and false. MDE told me themselves on the phone, and they'll be willing to tell you that as well. I also wanted to mention to the rest of some of the neighborhoods that are here is that you do have permits that have CAFO permits, and you are pending. So therefore, they need to speak up on behalf of their neighborhoods, because we're actually behind as far as the permitting process goes. Kilburnie and several other people in Rockawakan, et cetera, have ones that are pending, and they do have their CAFO permit. So I just wanted to reiterate that if you don't know about it, they are coming, and they're online, and there's several other ones that are not online that you have to call and figure out. I have about 40 pages for just Wicomico County. So just for everybody to know. Thank you very much.
I'm Brian Canode, Wicomico County, off of Carriage Lane. Thank you, County Executive and administration and council members. You know, you look around, everybody here wants the best for Wicomico County. And as Judith said, we're one community. And there are people in here that can solve any problem I know. So, you know, that's my point of effort is let's work together, get everything figured out. To the point of working with Pirates Wharf, which is what I'm here to speak about, and I think I echo the sentiments of a lot of people. I know on a Facebook page called Friends of the Forest, there's lots of folks that participate in that, not only here in the county, which I think are probably the majority of the folks in that group, but also outside the region, across the bay, other ones I've spoken to. Three of us attended the Natural Resources Conservation Advisory Committee meeting last week. And if for people who don't know, they advise the administration, I guess council members, on conservation issues in the county. The appointees to that committee are very talented. They're experts in their field. And they make recommendations to the administration and to council members in the county on conservation issues, let's call it. You know, Pirates Wharf embodies everything everybody's talking about as far as what makes Wicomico the place it is. There's natural stuff out there. There's fishing. Could be fishing. There is fish. There are ecological important things out there, cultural, historical, agricultural. It's an agricultural place. It's what the county is. We're agricultural. With a strong component, strong urban component and suburban component. But primarily, when you look at the maps, we're agricultural. That place has always been agricultural. It's why it was settled probably back in the late 1600s, and it's always been that. Great place for a farm museum. I know there's really not something that really focuses on that around here. It's the history. It's also got a great potential for recreation and education. I say that potential because it's a county property. It's not a county park. There are thoughts, and the county administration has thoughts to convert it to a county park. It'd be a great thing. I'll wrap this up real quick. When we attended the advisory committee meeting last month, I think the motion that went forward was to ask the county administration to provide a plan so they could respond from their perspective on, you know, what are the things that are going to go out there, so they have something to look at and say, well, yeah, that'll work here and maybe not that. I support that. I think that's something that needs to be done. You need to take a big view. Let's, you know, take a step back for a minute before anything's done out there. Get the Parks and Rec Department involved to lead the effort with the administration. You know, Pirates Wharf's been there probably in its current state since 1900 or so, maybe a little later, a little earlier. You know, in the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever it takes to get real plans done, thoughtful plans, citizen input, the house isn't going to deteriorate, the forest isn't going to fall down, the shoreline's not going to erode, although the wharf area probably needs some help, I know, I understand that. And, let me finish up by just reading excerpts from a couple letters real quick here. This is from a resident of the Western Shore who's visits us down here, visits me. Though I'm not a resident of Wicomico County, I have many friends there, and I've had a chance to enjoy some of the Eastern Shore on foot and by canoe. It's places like Pirates Wharf that make your county special, that make it worth visiting, make your residents proud to call it home, which I certainly do. It also makes people want to move there to escape the western side of the bay. So I think that's been expressed and felt, and spend their retirements and their money in a quieter, more beautiful, more enjoyable home. You have an opportunity to make your county even more beautiful by preserving Pirates Wharf. This is from Tom Horton. Just a few excerpts here. What is healthy for the forest depends utterly on how you view it, as short to medium-term profit from saw timber, or a natural system that's allowed to evolve forever. The profit from this view is harder to calculate, but very real. Beauty, education, wildlife, tourism. I mean, you got to ask yourself, how many rain gardens would it take? How much money would it take to recreate that, what that forest does ecologically for everything? There's not enough money having built rain gardens, and you can't replicate what that place is. There's precious little forest where we can largely allow nature to take its course, teach generations of citizens to enjoy and appreciate the forest as an ecosystem. Of course, in such a forest, big old trees will die and pests and disease will take their toll, but life will go on. It's called nature, and we've lost way too much of it.
You're wrapping, Mr. Knut?
Good. Done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to make a plug for, make a plug for Parks and Rec. They have, I'll call it eco tours for lack of a better word, kayak tours that are planned this spring and summer. Get back your way.
Hello, everybody. My name is Coy Gerald, and I attend Salisbury University. I'm not going to talk as long as good Brian Node up there, but I'm also here to talk about Pirates Wharf Forest and how you guys are deciding to commercially log it this summer. That's what we have heard. I'm from the western side of Maryland, and we don't have any of those forests over on that side of Maryland. That's probably one of the most beautiful forests I've been to. I've been there a few times over the past few years. And deforesting that will not only hurt us right now, but also hurt us in the future. Even if we're not from this side, I'll be gone in the spring semester after this semester. But what it does for us in this entire state, nation, as it reproduces carbon dioxide into oxygen, if we take that down, we're going to lose another source of oxygen for us in the future. Not only does it do that, but it also helps combat greenhouse gases, which will be beneficial for us in the future as well. And it's just, I don't know, I believe it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a while. And I'm not going to stand for it, neither is Salisbury University. We set up a petition the past few weeks. We've gotten 365 online signatures from the public, and then 400 signatures from Salisbury University students. So if you're getting that commitment from Salisbury University students who are only going to be here for 4 years, you can tell how much damage it's going to do to anybody else around this local community. And I know the local community will not want to see that forest destroyed. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Giffen. I live on Edgar Drive here in Salisbury, and I am a senior here at Salisbury University. So we are part of a generation which is becoming increasingly passionate about environmental conservation. And at Salisbury, for some majors, in order to get your degree, you have to complete a senior capstone project. And so for our class, not one, but 2 teams of students have decided to take up this issue because that's how passionate we are about this. And the first time that we went out to the forest there, we were absolutely stunned at the beauty of this place, which is a truly local treasure. And so our teams are doing things such as a social media campaign. We are releasing a series of public service announcement videos. We are even producing a 10 to 15 minute documentary about this entire situation. So we are doing our part to preserve this area. And so I know that people of the citizens also appreciate that because they love this land. And so we wanted to do everything that we can to help them. And so we are doing our part. And so I urge you, please do your part to preserve this local treasure. Thank you.
I thought that applause was for me. Thank you. As I said before, it's Bob Hocutt with the Wicomico Environmental Trust, and I'll be brief. If I had been right behind Brian, I would have been briefer. I would have just said what he said. But Brian laid out the need for a plan, and we certainly agree with that. Personally, I've been there and visited the house and grounds and walked in the forest and walked by the shore. All of these things that folks have said, we've seen for our own eyes, and I'll bet every one of you have done that too. So you know that it is a resource that the county is lucky to have. Somebody's foresight 20 or 30 years ago put it in our hands, and I know that you're taking your time. You have looked at a lot of things, and we just would urge that you be sure. Perhaps what is needed now is a consultant to be called in to form and conduct an objective study of what the benefits could be for the appropriate use of that property that's come to be known as Pirates Wharf. As you've heard, and as you know, we all love it. We want to protect it, and we want to be sure that we take reasonable steps. Maybe it's cutting down trees, maybe it's not cutting down trees, but maybe it's tearing down a house, maybe it's not tearing down a house. I hope it isn't. But let's take the time to do a study. Let's have public comment, and then move on it. But the important thing is to preserve Pirates Wharf.
Hello, my name is Heron Boyce. I found about this whole event very last minute, but I'm going to try to represent a more esoteric view on these things. The awareness of feeling what's going on is something that's been well overlooked. Feeling with the heart and recognizing emotions. The concern for the people is not only one for their own well-being, but for the holistic ecological system as it currently stands. And as we all know, in the last 100 years, the majority of all virgin forests have been completely sliced down. The willingness to consider these last sparse stands of beautiful and majestic spaces that are not only ecological preservation zones, biodiverse nature corridors, but also sanctuaries for the children's children to come. They're few and far between and rapidly diminishing at the hands of profit, which is such a finite and fleeting thing. The awareness of the capos is a concern because it brings into vision the factory farming dynamics, genetically modified organisms, the concern with mutating life for the value of not only profit, but maintaining as much possible selfish sustenance as we can in as small a space with as much possible waste without any real concern with anything but the profit margin. And in that, there's a karmic tie. There is a great deal of consciousness that we're completely sidebarring to allow for these prospects. The greater majority of the Wicomico County River, as some people may know, used to have a beautiful, diverse amount of marine grasses. I, by the way, am a sixth-generation waterman's son. I grew up on the Chesapeake Bay. I was born in Somerset. In just a few sparse decades, the wastewater from fertilizers and other herbicides have killed off all that marine grass. It doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. And the pH changes, the water quality changes, all of these things are affecting catch rates and, generally speaking, swimming conditions. All of this gets into the hydrological cycle. It completely and consistently repeats in the water people drink, in what comes down in rain, in what the children swim in. These concerns are far-reaching, and they will not go away, and the remediation of these things will be far more expensive than anyone will ever pay for. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Greg Greiser. Lived in Wicomico County and worked construction industry for the past 14 years. And I'm for saving the forest. And I look at it as if you Google search or web search the top places to live in the country, there are many. In addition to great health care and great entertainment, one of the number one things that each one of those best places to live have forests, and they have places to get out and be active. So I do commend the county in starting this ecotourism with the paddling and the canoeing. That's fantastic. But Pirates Wharf has it has it all, really. It has an entire ecosystem of rivers. It has history. It has wetlands. It has a forest. So if you take one of those out, you are losing the ecosystem in a sense. So I recommend retaining the forest, and I'm in favor of keeping it. Thank you.
My name's Claude Holland. First, I'd like to say good evening to the county council, and to also a lot of what I call my new family that's here tonight, because we've sure spent a lot of time together in the last several months. I've lived in Wicomico County for 20 years now. Most of you probably don't know it. I was born and raised in Somerset County. And one thing a lot of people from Somerset County don't like to do is be politically correct. So I apologize tonight if I offend anybody for what I'm going to say. I'm one of the two people whose article was printed in the Daily Times today about this KFO project on Naylor Miller Road and West Road. And I'll tell you that article was originally 6 pages long, but I had to condense it down to a limited space. I'm not a public speaker, never liked to do it, don't want to do it, but most people who know me know that I normally just sit back and I listen to what's going on, and I don't say a whole lot until things start to bother me. Like this whole mess that's been going on for the last several months is done. And it more than bothers me, and for the lack of a better term, it ticks me off. I've always told my 15-year-old son, he's sitting right back there next to my wife, if you believe in something, or you believe you're being treated unfairly, then you stand up and you speak for yourself. And Mr. Culver, since you're here tonight, I want to turn my attention to you for just a minute. And that deals with the public forum that was held recently at the Civic Center. And if I'm correct, you're the one that was responsible for bringing all the experts together that night. The first thing that struck me as funny, in my opinion, an expert can tell you what he does without having to look from a scripted piece of paper word for word. I've done my job for 25 years. You wake me up in the middle of the night in a dead sleep, I can tell you verbatim what I do on a daily basis. The other thing that I found puzzling that night were these so-called experts, the amount of questions that they either would not or could not answer. Another thing, and I apologize, but I'm going to go over a little bit. I hope some of my new family will allow me to do that and take up some of their time.
Mr. Holland, I have to remind you that there is a 3-minute limit for a reason, if you
I
don't mind.
understand that.
Thank you.
But what I need to say needs to be heard. I've never been to a public forum where you had to write your questions on a 3x5 card, then hand them to somebody and have them either be edited, changed, or put in a pile and not asked altogether. Yes. And I say that specifically because I had a question that would refute one of the experts' comments about there was no damage because everything was under a roof. But by the time my question was reworded, I didn't understand what was even being asked. Neither did anybody on the panel. And the comments you made, Mr. Culver, during your opening comments is what really offended me, and I think it did a lot of other people. That you didn't want that meeting to go all night. Well, I was one of several hundred parents there who had children. I'm concerned about my kid, as well as everybody else in this room and my family. About what could happen to them if this project's allowed to be built. And now I'll go forward to the county council. And I would like to say comments to every one of the council members, but I know I can't do that. So Mr. Cannon, you're the president. I'll direct everything that I have to say to you. I've been to several meetings. I was at the morning session, the last one we had. I read several articles in the paper, and I've heard you say things like, this project is going forward. There's nothing that can be done to stop it. I don't believe it for a second. You've also made comments that you haven't received any proof or nobody's presented you with any information that this project would cause damage to the Paleo Channel. Correct me if I'm wrong, everybody. What have we been doing for the last 4 months? You received mounds of paperwork. And I mean no disrespect when I say this to anybody sitting on the council. But you need to remember one thing. You weren't elected to represent DPI or an out-of-state investor. You were elected to represent me, my family, and everybody that's sitting here. So now you know why I say I'm ticked. I received a lot of training on my job in the last 8 or 9 years. It's dealt with specifically a person's body language, how they react under certain circumstances, their movements, their gestures, things of that nature. And based on that, I build up a list of what I call indicators. Throughout this whole process, I've noticed a lot of indicators
that are very obvious to me that a lot, if not a majority of you on the county council, don't care or want to hear a thing that we have to say. With the exception of that one man sitting right there, Councilman Ernie Davis, who I think needs a round of applause.
Mr. Holland, I do have to ask you to wrap.
Sir, I'll be one more minute and I'll be finished. And nobody needs to go to the training that I did and notice those things. When I see people sitting up here talking on their, or not talking, looking at their cell phones, playing with their computers, staring into space. My wife told me to tone things down before I got here tonight. And she's probably going to kill me when I get home tonight for saying what I'm about to say. We're both tired of Wicomico County in the state of Maryland basically trying to take every nickel that we make and give it to people who can but won't work for a living. Our plans were to sell our house and move. Lori, I'm sorry to tell you, but I think those plans have changed. I do plan on retiring in the next few years, and I'm looking for a part-time job. With the exception of you, Mr. Davis, the rest of you need to worry, because I'm coming for somebody's job.
Thank you, Mr. Holland.
But I'll promise you guys one thing. If I do run for council and I get elected, you come to me with something that's serious, it'll get fixed. Quickly. And the very last thing, and I promise I'll be done, Mr. Cannon, you brought up during the morning session that if the county were to try to put a stop to this process at Naylor Mill Road and West Road, the property owner may have recourse against the county. Let me give you a little bit of quick figures that I did.
Mr. Holland, you have to wrap up. You really do, Mr. Holland.
$377,000 was paid for that property. I took on an average 500 pieces of property that live around, or people living around the area, gave a median income or median value of the property of $155,000 each. That comes to $77,500,000. So think about it.
That's a tough one to follow. My name's Donald Ross. I'm a Wicomico County resident. I lived here since 1994. And I will be brief. Excuse me, I've had a stroke, so sometimes I stutter a bit, so just bear with me. I know what I want to say. So I'd like to correct Brian on one thing, and long before the farmers established Pirates Wharf, there were those guys up there. The first time I've seen Pirates Wharf was from the river, and I stopped there and I anchored, and I noticed it was a magical place. There's more there than it's more than a piece of real estate. In fact, those people never considered it to be real estate. They wondered, what's wrong with these people? They think they can buy and sell the land. There was some talk that I heard about doing some logging at Pirates Wharf, and some of the funds from that going to fund the building of a park there. Financially, that might make sense, but to me, what I think is that's kind of like cutting fingers off to buy a pair of gloves. It just doesn't make sense. I've seen that forest, and it is well established. That forests have learned to take care of themselves long before before forest management was ever considered. Forest knows what it's doing. And we humans are still but what you would call arrogant adolescents when it comes to thinking that we know how to manage it better than Mother Nature does. So I hope this area can be conserved and left in its natural states and perhaps allowed to expand for future generations to see, for our children to see, for their children to see. You can't duplicate it. It knows what it's doing. I've heard that there's trees there that are going to die, and they're just going to die and fall down. Well, that's how the forest feeds itself. I think it should be allowed to do that. There is another way. And when it comes to whether what came first, the chicken or the egg, when it comes to what came first, the lumberjacks or the developers and the tree huggers, well, that's an easy one. So thank you for your time, and I hope your decisions will be guided by wisdom and from the heart, and not by the wallets and what's. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Heidi Glasgow, Salisbury, Maryland. And my grandfather used to take me walking in the woods when I was little. He would show me the trees and tell me what they were, the names of them. And I still remember that to this day. Nowadays, you go right around and all the woods are being cut down, nothing left of them, except a couple little trees they didn't want scattered around. And I just think it's a shame to ruin Pirates Wharf. I've never been there. I've never even heard of it. I've lived here my whole life. But I've seen pictures, and it looks beautiful. The old heart pines that you hardly see anymore with the wide bark on them. It's just, it's hurtful to take all that away from children. You can't even walk in the woods. If you ever walk in the woods, it's so calming, and the trees are so majestic, the old trees and the shapes of them. I mean, they're beautiful. And I just don't think it's right to ruin that for our generation and future generations. So that's all I got to keep it short and sweet.
Hi, my name's Patty Leonard. I live on Atkins Road, about a mile and a half from the West Road Naylor Mill project. Last time I got up here, for one thing, I thought that was a cell phone, so I apologize for that. Now I know. I read a lot of information from a couple water reports. To be honest with you, I really didn't understand, and I was hoping that you all in your wisdom understood more than I did. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but tonight I passed out a letter from the university, from Johns Hopkins, that I wanted to, I think you probably have already seen it, but I wanted to share it again. And as a two-time cancer survivor, I saw a lot in there that worries me. It summarizes their concerns for the health of our Eastern Shore residents if the industrial-sized CAFOs are allowed to be built. And quickly, what they touch on is disease transmission, air pollution, and contaminated ground and surface water. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Neve Short, and I'm a resident of Wicomico County. I sometimes have struggled with talking about, or wanting to talk about Pirates Wharf in light of what's happening with the CAFOs, because that's a very pressing and huge issue that is right now. But what I keep on seeing is that these issues keep on coming up at the same time, and that they're very related, where right now these massive factories are coming in and being seen as a form of profit that would have really negative consequences on the environment. And the residents that have come here, that chose to come here, came here because of the place being beautiful, and Pirates Wharf is an example of what has attracted people. Now, going to what Don said about cutting off your fingers to buy a glove, that's what looks like what's happening with Pirates Wharf, the idea of wanting to cut down the trees to pay for the park. The park is already, or the property is already very ready to be a park. It doesn't actually require a whole lot of finances to go into it. And I'm really glad to see that the county has taken on ecotourism and is really seeing this as a viable way forward. There's an opportunity to develop other ways of having revenue streams besides bringing in CAFOs. We could try to capitalize on the beauty of our space and find a new way forward of bringing in higher quality jobs and higher quality uses of our land and property, which would also increase the property rights or the property values and things of this nature. So it's really nice to see that these issues keep coming up together. And as far as the forest goes, I have a very particular question for the county executive. I understand it's a valuable property for the timber. If it's cut down and the plans are to replant, it's in a wetland area and the water table seems to be rising. Residents in Whitehaven say that they see the coastline coming closer and closer to their homes. I was in Pirates Wharf this winter. Every time I've gone, during the winter, it was completely inundated with water. And it keeps on being this thing of being so waterlogged. I wonder if you want to replant with pine, or anything, it might not even grow at this point. Has there been a study to look what would actually happen if you do cut down the trees and try to plant again? Is it possible for anything to grow in those conditions? They might not grow, and so then if you're looking at this as a long-term revenue stream for timber products, that might not even actually work. So take some time to consider that. Because there's potential for drastic environmental consequences if you do cut this down and nothing grows. It's vulnerable land in a wetland critical zone, in a place where the water is already rising. So it's a very important forest for the area. But I will say, even if if the forests or trees would regrow, as Heron pointed out, we've cut down most of our native forests, and this is one of the few beautiful places left. If we want to do ecotourism, we need to actually save these places. And in terms of, well, I'll just leave it at that. That there's a real value with Pirates Wharf, and keeping the forest intact is important for its possibility for ecotourism and for the enjoyment of the local people. So I encourage you to consider keeping it that way. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Hi, my name is Margaret Barnes. I'm with Moms Across America, and I live in Salisbury. And I wanted to say that I've read a lot of the testimony of farmers and how those of us who are opposing these CAFOs are affecting their income. And one thing they always keep saying is, I want to send my child to college. And yeah, everybody wants to send their child to college. But I would like to have their kids go to college too, but not at the expense of my child's health. My child attends Pemberton Elementary. That's about 1.5 miles from the Rockawalan location. We live in historic Newtown. That's within the 3 mile. I think it's almost within the 2 mile radius of the CAFO on Naylor Mill Road. I just spoke to someone who lives near in Delmar. She lives next to the one that's supposed to go up there. That one is 1.5 miles from an elementary school. and middle schools. So I don't know if schools just happen to be a magnet for CAFOs or not, but it just seems like, oh, there's a school, let's put a CAFO there. And there really just is not enough studies done on the particulates that are in the air that get blown out of these fans. I think that is something that needs to be looked into much more seriously before you subject a population, particularly children who are playing at recess, near a CAFO when these things are blowing. They might not be causing immediate childhood cancer. They might not be causing immediate asthma problems, but they surely are going to suppress an immune system. They will wear down the immune system. And as anyone knows, when you are sick and you have something like that, it's very hard to recover. So, and the other thing I would like to say is to Mr. Culver, one of your comments that you wrote after the March 22nd meeting was that there are risks in everything. And I may be getting this wrong, but I think you said, there's a risk to opening a restaurant, or there's a risk to this, and there's a risk to CAFO. And I would urge you to think long and hard about what the risks actually are, because I don't think that you can compare 10 chicken houses with, 350,000 birds? More than that, okay. Every 45 days, right? Right. I mean, you all do understand that's more manure than the human beings of Salisbury make. I mean, we're we're in competition now with chickens to who can produce more poop. Anyway, my point is that you can talk about risks, but there are some risks that you should not be willing to take, and this is one of them. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
My name is Joan Strang, and I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Maryland Building Industries Association. I'm going to change issues and talk about the sprinkler issue that we've all been concerned about for the last 6 months. Today in the Maryland Senate, Senate Bill 728 was passed with amendments by the Senate. The amendments changed the bill so that the tax credit is only good for 3 years. Also, it changes the county in which the new unit dwelling can be located. The counties now that this bill will apply to are Allegheny, Caroline, Cecil, Dorchester, Garrett, Kent, Queen Anne's, Somerset, Talbot, Washington, Wicomico, or Worcester counties. You will note that they are all rural counties, and that was our goal, to give relief to the rural counties. The bill with the amendments now passes to the House. I would like to ask the County Council to contact the Eastern Shore delegation and encourage them to work diligently to move this bill through the House so it can go to the governor for signature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Caruso. I live in Kilburnie. I typed something on my phone and I have to read it. We all know that chicken houses are all over Wicomico County. I'm not originally from here, but I've lived here for over 30 years and know that the poultry industry is a vital and important part of the Eastern Shore. Local poultry farmers are my neighbors and are a valuable part of our community. Our local poultry farmers will surely suffer with these industrial CAFOs infiltrating our community. I completely understand that the economics of our county are driven by the almighty dollar, but they should not be done at the sacrifice of our health, our beautiful community, and our water supply. Some people would say the single largest investment you make is the education of your children. I don't disagree with this, but the quality of my child's education is based on the property values of Wicomico County homes, meaning a solid tax base, not having diminishing home values. That being said, the prospect of many industrial CAFOs all over Wicomico County poses the threat of diminishing home values, and with it, the loss of my child's quality education.
First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity to make public comment. My name is Joe Schiller. My wife and I live in the Kilburnie homeowners, the Kilburnie Estates subdivision, which has approximately 250 homes. We're also born and raised in Wicomico County. As this young lady just said, traditional home, family chicken operations are something that we've known all our lives and are part of the community. But this large-scale operation is a horse of a different color. A lot's been said. I don't want to be redundant. I think two young ladies mentioned the population situation near these proposed operations, and I know from the newspaper that you all are working on a proposed ordinance. And of course, we are looking to you to come up with adequate regulations to regulate these large-scale operations should they come in. As I said, just our subdivision alone has 250 homes. There are other large subdivisions that are out in the rural areas. Most of us have large fields right up against our entrances to the subdivision. It was reported in the paper that you're working on and getting recommendations on possible areas that would be protected, churches. There were 3 or 4 areas that would be protected, public buildings. It mentioned growth areas. I didn't hear anything about large subdivisions. I can't even imagine what would happen to a large subdivision like ours, or even a moderate subdivision or a smaller subdivision, to have in one of those open fields right across the street from your subdivision a scale chicken factory operation like is being talked about right there across the street. Number one, it's going to affect property values. It's just going to go on and on and on. That has been discussed. We are looking to you to come up with adequate regulations. There need to be adequate regulations. This industry has not been regulated. It's gotten through the cracks for years and years and years. The smaller operations were fine. Now that we're stepping into this large arena, please take your time and concentrate on the areas that need to be protected, and we're looking to you to do that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Holland. I'm Claude Holland's wife. I did not plan to get up here and speak, but I figured if he had enough gumption in him to do this, I could do it. But mine is going to be short and sweet. We elected you all to represent us as our members or our council of this community. I feel you're failing us. You're not only failing us in here, you're failing our children, my child's child, and going on and on. And at this point, I will have a discussion with my husband about staying longer, because I am 100% so furious what you're putting us into. I'm ready to go now. And I've born and raised here 44 years, and I thought this would be my home. I watched my parents with health problems. My husband and my child have health problems. And what you're about ready to do to this county, it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And if you don't stop it, it's going to happen. We travel all across the Eastern Shore to play baseball. I love this county. This county has some of the most beautiful baseball fields that's out there. You bring these big chicken houses in here right down the road from Parker Field, you think anyone's going to want to play baseball, softball? You're going to ruin this county. And that's not a legacy that I would want any of you to have of what you've done to this county. Everybody keeps saying it's not going to happen. We're going to follow this timetable. We're going to do these inspections every 3 years, 5 years, whatever. There's a lot that can fall in the holes between that time. And then it's going to be an announced visit. This was said at the meeting. I think it's unfair that you're not allowing us to have our own forum to bring other members up. John Hopkins, just any kind of research that you can do on the internet. You can find out what these chicken houses can do to everyone, including yourselves. So you're not only risking our livelihood, you're risking your own. And if you don't think you're going to outlive it and see it, you're wrong. And it's a shame. It's sad, because I thought I would live here all my life, and I cannot stand being in Wicomico County for what you all, except Mr. Davis, because he has spoken out for us. I feel like it's wrong that you're doing this. I feel like you're taking my life away, and that's not fair. So I'm going to ask you all again to listen and read the information that all of these people have provided to you. And please don't say you don't have it, because you do. Take consideration of somebody else besides what you're sitting behind the table and listen to us speak for once, please.
Any other public comments?
I'm going to take 3 minutes from her because she won't say it, but we talk about this. This is Chris Humble again, Ty Askin. And this is just not to point fingers at anyone, but let's be honest. Wicomico County needs jobs. We need jobs desperately. We're losing jobs left and right. And what we discuss in our home is, why would people come to Wicomico County? Honestly. And why wouldn't we tell our youth to leave Wicomico County? I mean, if we're debating whether or not we're going to stick up factories, and that's where we're going to plant our stake, and this is the future of our county. Why would anybody come to Wicomico County? I can't sell my house anymore. And I would never tell the youth to stay here. We don't have broadband. We don't have broadband. We don't have a strategic anything for moving jobs to this area. And we're going to hang our hats on factories for chickens. All I ask, honestly, is just look at the whole big thing and think about, why do you want to live in Wicomico County? If you got that in your head, how can we keep that here? And how can we give no kidding, we have an 18-year-old that works with us. I'm telling him, get out of here. What is your future? Look at around the area. Look by the university. They're closing things left and right. I don't care about all of that noise of who's pointing, doing what, and who's talking behind who's back. Just go home tonight and think, why do you live in this county? Why do you listen to us every time we come up here? Why are you so committed? And how can we keep this and make it grow to something beautiful? I want to go across the bridge and say, I'm from Wicomico County, and everybody go, that's great. Not, oh, I hear that you're going to have these big old factories over there. That's a shame. That's really all I have to say is, why do we live here, and how can we make it better?
Any other public comments? Seeing none, that closes the public comments for the night. Any council comments? Councilman
I'd
Dodd?
just like to thank everyone for attending again, and some of you may not believe it, but we are listening to you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other council comments?
I just do feel like a correction needs to be made to some of the last comments. In the March analysis from SWED, the employment rates from January 2011 to January 2016 are up about 2,000 jobs in Wicomico County, and the unemployment rate has gone down from about 9% to about 7.5%. So just want you to know it's not doom and gloom out there. I think some of the figures are not correct.
Please. Any other council comments? Under presidential comments, if I could, please. Keep in mind, what the zoning is right now is 100 feet, and that is what the law is. Excuse me, if you don't mind. What the law is. If you don't mind, 'cause we've sat and we've listened to everybody, and not because we want to hear what you have to say, and we try to be courteous in that, and I would ask the same. But what I'm trying to say is that, some of the discussion tonight has said this is what this council is doing. What this council is doing is trying to correct the measures. As it is right now, it is law that it's 100 feet. The council is not happy with that. That's why the council initiated this process. And that is what has happened. We are reading what you're sending to us. We're listening to what you say. I've had more conversation with members of this council than I would like to let you know. I think it's certainly at some point in time, I suspect that they don't even answer my calls because they know why I'm calling them. We've been talking about this for months now, and we're going to continue talking about it. But I'd ask you to continue to give us the information you have. We're receiving that. We're reading it, and we want to make sure that what we do is right. And it's very challenging. In Accomack County and in Somerset County, it was a year, if not a 2-year process. We're trying to make this much quicker than a year or a 2-year process because we recognize that this has to be done as quickly as possible, and we want to try to get it right. So I want you to be aware of that. Now, someone had mentioned the fact that you were concerned about a forum. I know that the Chesapeake Bay Foundation will be holding a forum. I believe it might be on April 28th. Right, so they will have a forum. I believe it's going to be at Salisbury University. I'm not sure exactly of the time, but keep that in mind. They're going to try to see what they can do so that there's a, wherever some people might feel that the prior forum that we had did not allow enough, expression of your concerns, that this can maybe help facilitate that. So again, I just want to let you know that this council did bring this to the table because we wanted to make changes and we wanted to try to do what we felt is correct. And it is a very challenging process, but we do want to get it right. We're going to continue to work on it. So thank you again for speaking tonight. We appreciate that. Entertain a motion from council to adjourn so that we can go into open work session followed by a closed work session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Meeting's adjourned. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
John.